When experience becomes a liability, if you are a seasoned nurse or a frontline clinician and you have tried to leave a system that burned you out and suddenly found it was harder than expected to land somewhere new, you are definitely not imagining it. But the reason is not what most people think. Healthcare didn't suddenly stop needing experience. It changed what it values. For years, experienced clinicians were the backbone of care. The ones who could see deterioration early, they can question unsafe orders, and they would protect patients without even needing a protocol to tell them how. But that kind of thinking does not scale easily in systems being built around standardization, throughput, algorithm-supported decisions, and compliance-driven workflows. So what is happening? Organizations are quietly shifting towards workforce models that are more adaptable to protocol. They are easier to train into the system processes. They are less likely to challenge operational design and less expensive to maintain. New graduates are not the problem, but they are entering a system that is being redesigned around them. And experienced clinicians, the ones who have seen what safe care actually looks like, do not always fit cleanly into that structure anymore. Not because they are outdated, but because they think independently. They recognize when something is off. They carry memory of how care should feel. And that creates friction in systems optimized for consistency, not judgment. So when a seasoned nurse leaves a harmful environment and expects mobility and instead hits resistance, silence, or even filtered hiring processes, what they are running into isn't a lack of need. It's a mismatch between experience and system design. This is not about replacing people. It is about reshaping the workforce into something more controllable. And that shift has ultimate consequences. Because when experience is filtered out, safety does not disappear at once. It erodes quietly. You didn't lose your value. The system shifted. If you are feeling this right now, listen to me clearly. Your experience did not become less valuable. The system stopped knowing how to use it. There is a difference. You were not difficult. You were aware. You were not resistant. You were calibrated to reality. You were not burned out because you couldn't handle healthcare. You were overexposed to environments that required you to ignore what you knew was unsafe. And when you stepped away from that, you expected the system to recognize your value. Instead, you ran into something new, a system that rewards speed over depth, compliance over questioning, and consistency over clinical instinct. That does not mean that you do not belong in healthcare. It means healthcare has not caught up to what you represent. Your awareness is not a liability. It is protection. Your ability to see risk early, to speak up, to think beyond checklists, that is not outdated. That is what keeps patients alive when systems fail. And the discomfort that you feel right now, That is not failure. That is clarity. Empowerment isn't about forcing yourself back into a system that broke you. It is about recognizing where your value still exists and aligning with structures that protect it. You do not need to become easier to control to stay relevant. You need to stay accurate enough to know where you stand. So, what happens when experience walks away? I want to take this one step further. What happens to healthcare when experienced clinicians stop finding a place to land? Not just leave, but cannot re-enter easily. Think about that. What happens when pattern recognition disappears? Early warning signs, instincts fade away. Quiet course corrections stop happening, and every decision relies on protocol alone. What happens when the people who knew what off feels like are not in the room anymore? This is not a future problem. It is already happening in pockets across the system. And it does not fail loudly. It fails subtly. Longer hospital stays, more complications, more near misses that never get labeled as such. Because experience does not just perform tasks, it protects outcomes. So this is not just about employment. It is about whether healthcare is building a future that can sustain itself, or one that looks efficient on paper and fragile in reality. And this is where alignment absolutely matters, not just within a profession, across all of them. Because this pattern is not isolated to nursing. It touches respiratory, EMS, pharmacy, technicians, every role that carries real-world clinical awareness. This is why fragmentation keeps the system unchanged and why unity changes it. If you are a seasoned clinician navigating this current shift, do not disappear. Your voice, your awareness, your experience, that is not something the system should move past. It is something it should be built around. If this message resonates with you, step out of the noise and into something structured. nursingspecialforces.org. Because this is not about one role. It is about protecting the people who know what safe care actually looks like. Stay with this. There is always more to come.